Welcome to the As Yet Untitled video blog.
Movie podcast?
Movie podcast. It's not a video blog?
No, it's a movie podcast.
Welcome to the As Yet Untitled movie podcast. What are you doing? Oh, third try. Welcome to the As Yet Untitled movie podcast. This week we are reviewing Toy Story 3, directed by Lee Unkrich, with Tom Hanks and Tim Allen in the lead voice roles as Woody and Buzz Lightyear. And just as a basic synopsis, this is the third in a trilogy of Toy Story movies from Pixar. Basically, Andy, the owner of all the toys, is getting ready to go off to college and has to decide what to do with the toys. And in the process of that, the toys end up going to a Sunnyside daycare, and everything is not as it seems. And eventually they're trying to escape and make their way back to Andy's house. We're going to assume that you've seen the movie. If you haven't, well, out of luck, spoilers, we will probably constantly talk about it, but that's as much of the plot as I feel needs to be gone into.
Well, it's been 11 years since the last Toy Story, right? 11 years? And
11 years.
That actual amount of time has passed in the Toy Story world.
Yeah, 11 years has actually passed, which is really fascinating. So, and now we're going to turn to Steve. Steve is going to give us his general review, how he felt about the movie, and then we're just going to move on and start talking about it and go right into it.
Okay, well, I think I was the most nervous about it out of the three of us. I was worried it was just going to be kind of dialed in. You know, a third movie is rarely good. The third movie in a trilogy, except for maybe Back to the Future. Is that Lord of the Rings? That's all one movie. That doesn't count. I can't think, actually. Back to the Future.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. Third movie's good. Not anymore, but
not anymore. But the third movie was good. There's a trilogy. There's 3 movies there.
Born Ultimatum.
So there are some, but very few third movies are good. It's usually just to grab the cash. And I was afraid, although
for example, Shrek the Third.
Shrek the Third, yeah, awful. X-Men 3, Batman Forever.
That's a masterpiece.
Well, we'll talk about that. So, I was afraid that it wasn't going to be any good. I went in and one of the best animated films I've ever seen in my entire life.
Are you putting it above Kung Fu Panda?
Barely. But yes, from the moment the movie started to the moment the movie ended, I was holding back tears. Mm-hmm. Like, literally, I was almost bawling the entire way through the movie. And there were times where I literally had to look away to not, like, break down. It was, like, one of the most... And the thing is, it didn't... One of the first animated movies that I've seen that didn't rely a lot on humor. There was humor there, but that wasn't the point of the story. It was... there was a deep plot. The characters were complex. And, I mean, everything that Pixar has brought us all along, but this was like the pinnacle of everything they've ever done. And yeah, literally, so many times throughout the movie, I almost broke down just blubbering. It was a beautiful movie, and I way exceeded my expectations. I thought that the story was well put together. It wasn't just sort of a rehash of things they've done. Even the whole Buzz Lightyear reverting back to the original model Buzz was done in a way where it seemed fresh and new. And
there was a good reason for it.
There was a good reason for it. It didn't
the other toys do it as a punishment. It's not like an accident for comic movies.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like they were just trying to recapture what they did in the first one.
It doesn't just get hit in the head in some...
Yeah. You know, it's amnesia. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. What do you think?
Yeah, I was afraid to be the first one to say it, but I was pretty close to breaking down Solomon.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole way through, but toward the end, I was fighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To,
That's my water. You put that back right now. Don't you touch my water. That's your tea.
I can't touch my tea.
You can drink your tea.
Okay, fine.
Don't you drink my water. I'm gonna cry.
it's okay.
We can all cry.
Anyways,
We can have a cry.
You were
together.
talking about how you were almost going to cry.
Yeah, I think I don't know if this might be the first animated movie that brought me that close to. I mean, that had that big an emotional impact on me. I mean, WALL-E was pretty emotional, but I don't think I've ever been so close to just absolutely breaking down
Yeah.
at the end of the movie, an animated movie, as I was in this one.
Yeah. I'm still sort of like I think about it. I'm still like.
I was actually concerned in the beginning because, well, the opening sequence was really cool because it started out kind of the way Toy Story 2 started out.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like this fantasy, Andy's fantasy sequence kind of thing. Although I think in Toy Story 2 was Rex playing a video game. But anyway, it started out this fantasy sequence. But after I started moving away from that, I started getting a little worried because I was, like you were saying, it wasn't as funny. Like, there weren't as many gags.
Yeah.
So it took a little longer for me to actually start, like, really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that actually engaged me even more because it took itself very seriously. And not in a overly, serious way, but it tried to make an animated movie that had weight and then didn't just rest on making fun of Disney and making fun of fairy tales and making fun of there was this had the same kind of weight that any dramatic serious dramatic film that comes out right before the Oscars has. It dealt with issues that it seems like they took the sort of weighty issues of Up that they sort of dealt with and made an entire movie out of that. That idea of dealing with issues of separation and isolation and like serious issues, and did it in a way that was just
Up made me cry. I forgot about that.
yeah.
Oh, I cried it up
That
at the
tender
beginning of
sequence
Up.
in the beginning of Up.
Yeah.
Definitely made me.
I cried in WALL-E when he's being crushed.
I laughed. I thought
I
it was
cried.
hilarious. Stupid little boy.
No, but just
That was heartbreaking.
I think the difference though is that just for like the last 15 minutes of the film, I was
Oh, the end of Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3.
I was crying when he was talking to when he's giving his toys away
Yeah.
to the little girl, and he's describing what each one means to him. And when he sees Woody at the bottom of the box and realizes that he has to give up Woody. And I really liked the idea at the beginning. Like, I think what told me at the beginning that it was going to be a good movie was when he's taking all his toys and he chooses to take Woody with him to college.
And that's the fear that I had last week, was that I didn't see how he would give up Woody so easily.
Yeah, that they still have that sense of that character, Andy, and his attachment to Woody is still there, so strong that he would literally keep him and take him to college. But then the whole idea of them having to stick together as a family and then working together and Woody sacrificing staying with Andy is really the thing that fascinated me through the entire movie, and I guess I kind of forgot it in the first two films, but Pixar can push emotion with stillness. Like the scenes when I was on the edge of crying would just be those little 4 or 5 second clips of just like Woody or Buzz's still face. And because what it really kind of does is it's a first person shot. So you literally are putting yourself in Andy's viewpoint. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at that toy. And it's really the first time that someone, we've had kind of gimmicky attempts to have first person moving around and some action films and things like that. But that really utilizes the direct first-person point of view really, really well, because the toy isn't speaking back to the human emotion. As an audience, we know the toys have those emotions and those feelings for Andy, but there's a sense of absence in Woody's just kind of still smile right there that the connection is there, but we'll never be able to communicate it to each other. And that, I don't know, it makes me wish that my toys were alive.
Are you thinking about like the scene at the end with the little girl, like he's waving by, and the little girl waves by with Woody's hand? And Andy's almost like taken back by it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a moment of
realization.
Yeah.
Are they alive? No, I was just thinking...
Not are they alive, but just like, because we have seen Woody, moving so much, but just like the sudden, like, he sees Woody's hand waving goodbye, and it's just like he has this like moment where he's like, whoa,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not so moment. I'm just thinking of just the moments when they would just look at just the toys' faces without them moving.
Yeah.
Just in the stillness. That there's... I still don't know how they did it. There's emotional power in that stillness.
Well, it's because of everything they do around it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of...
But there's been a tradition of that in the Toy Story movies, going back to the first one. Like in the opening scenes of the first Toy Story movie, they do a close-up shot of Woody's face when he's playing with them.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job throughout the 3 movies of keeping that theme going. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about it. It's good.
Yeah. It's really impressive.
Even in the beginning, when this movie really does feel sort of like a farewell to these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that scene, there's the whole fantasy suite sequence, but then it switches over to the actual toys playing, and that, I don't know, that moment, like even in that moment, I was like fighting back a little bit, because I think it hit me like, wow, these characters have become a much a part of our culture as Mickey Mouse, these have become a real part of well, at least American culture, and launched something. The idea of animation as something that isn't just for kids can be something that is, as much are taken as seriously as any other genre of film.
Launch Pixar, basically.
Yeah, well, launch Pixar, but Pixar's ideas of animation have taken hold that an animated movie can have the same kind of dramatic weight as any other kind of film.
It's interesting that you're talking about how the place in culture, because when they re-released Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and 3 at the end of last year, I went and saw it, and as I was sitting there watching, I was realizing that I was with a lot of people my own age, but they had their own kids.
Yeah.
And the realization came to me that I and these people were kids when Toy Story came out. And now they're taking their kids to see Toy Story.
Yeah.
And even though I don't have kids, I was just like so... It was just such a moment for me. I was like, wow,
Well, you start to realize actually how, like you said, how much of an impact this has had on yourself, how much of an impact these movies had on me, and how much they really tapped into just an imagination and just the idea of wanting to play with your toys, wanting your toys to be alive. And it's not until this movie did I really realize what an impact these films had on me, and what an impact the end of them. It's like you said, it does feel like a farewell to these characters. And it does feel like you already mentioned it's the perfect ending to a trilogy.
Oh yeah.
It's not the Matrix Revolutions. It's
brilliant. Matrix Revolutions is brilliant.
It's a perfect trilogy that flows from Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, and it ends, which is so hard to do with a series. Honestly, to end it well, it's easier to leave us at a cliffhanger wanting more constantly doing that. But to end something well is so hard. But this did it. It left me wanting more, but accepting that I'm not going to receive any more. Being willing to not, that it's the end. Yeah, still want
we have
more.
to let them go just like anyone.
We have to let them go, just like
Yeah,
Andy.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing how much we become Andy.
And I wasn't actually thinking about it as a trilogy until after I'd already seen the movie. And I think it was just a couple of days ago. We saw it almost a week ago, but just a few days ago, I was like, wow, that was one of the most perfect trilogies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been thinking about it as a trilogy. 'Cause to me, there's a difference between just 3 movies in a series and a trilogy. Okay, because a trilogy to me will be like you can take the 3 movies together, and there's an arc over the 3 movies, even if they're made separately, like things work.
Okay.
So it wasn't until after I'd seen Toy Story 3 that I was like, wow, that was actually a real trilogy. You know, like we were just talking about Indiana Jones. To me, that's like episodic. Just like, you know, you can keep making it, whatever.
Right.
You can have as many episodes as you want. But
I see.
yeah, but Toy Story 3, I think, is a, like you're saying, is a perfect way to wrap up the story.
Because the entire story is about separation and letting go.
Yeah.
I mean, from every movie's been about that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I see what you mean, the sort of overarching
Yeah.
thematically.
So what do we think about the, one of my concerns with the movie going into it, which is always my concern with such a ensemble cast like this, was that Woody and Buzz wouldn't be the focus, or that they...
The number of characters.
The number of characters that they have, and always with a new movie you introduce new characters. So I'm wondering if we can talk about how we felt about the new characters. Lotso, Big Baby, Ken, and then some of the characters at Molly's house. What do we feel that they add? What do they bring to the movie? Do they bring too much? Because I think Lotso is probably the most important one there and gets the most time.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's a great villain, I thought.
He's a much scarier villain than
Yeah.
this movie went dark.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It really went dark.
And he has great motivation. Like, you
Yeah.
go back to the idea that he was literally replaced, and I think it was a brilliant move when he goes up there and he looks in that window and we see that he's replaced, but we don't see if Big Baby and Chuckles. Chuckles was the clown. Which was a hilarious moment when they're like,
The
you can ask,
introduction of that character was
you can ask
insane.
Chuckles. Yeah, it's just that sad clown, like, just sitting up there.
Staring out the
Staring at the
This
window.
perfect, like, French cinema moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my gosh.
And then his deep voice comes on, and he just...
The thing about that moment was it was so sudden and
Yeah.
unexpected.
Yeah,
And for a moment, I was just like totally like I was like, what is going on?
yeah.
But it made me laugh, and at the same time, it was still seriously like emotionally weighted. And I don't know
Yeah.
how they
How they could do that with the clown, which has
with a clown.
now
I hate
entered
clowns.
into, like, scary
I hate clowns. They made
culture.
this clown like sympathetic to me. It's ridiculous.
But I love that we have no idea if Big Baby and Chuckles were replaced.
Right.
And that Lotso won't let them see.
Yeah. Well, it allows for that,
Sorry, that's my phone.
oh, okay.
Should have turned that
Do you want to get it?
Ah.
I don't want to get it.
It allows for what, Steve?
It allows for that moment when Big Baby, I can't say that without thinking
Such
of
a great
Davis,
character too.
when he turns on Lotso.
Yeah.
So that doesn't feel forced, or it makes sense in the context of the movie. Whereas a lot of those moments where the number 2 turns on, suddenly
Right,
turns good,
right.
feels, well, they need this to make the plot work. But it not giving that away allows for that moment to happen organically,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
And the way they take like this plush teddy bear and this baby doll and make them scary,
Yeah.
but still like sympathetic, like not one-dimensional, and
Yeah.
yeah, I thought they did a really good job with the new characters.
They've always had. I remember the scary spider baby head. Toy Story
yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's
When it comes out of the
Yeah.
darkness,
when it comes out of the darkness.
head turns, one eye's gone.
And that the design of Big Baby reminded me a little bit of that, but they've obviously captured the fact that baby dolls are very creepy.
They are very creepy.
Yes.
They're very, very scary.
Babies in general.
Babies are just terrible inventions. I don't know why we have them.
No. Old women who collect porcelain dolls are scary. Those houses are creepy.
Yeah, they're.
That's another thing that Pixar is great at, is taking very benign characters and making them into villains. I think about the villain in Up is an old dude, an old guy that can barely walk. The villain in WALL-E is a computer. You know,
Like Hal.
Yeah,
but
he's got
even
a-
Hal's, he seems benign at the beginning, and has that same sort of. So I mean, in all their movies, the villain starts out as this very approachable character.
Toy Story 2, it's like that too with Pete.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, Lotso actually reminded me a lot of Prospector Pete, which I was concerned about. Because I think even from the previews, I was like, well, that's just Prospector Pete. You know, I mean, he's even walking around with a cane.
yeah,
Where Prospector Pete uses his pickaxe to walk around. He's just like this old toy, lots of folksy wisdom, and kind of round and lovable, and and then he has like this moment where he turns, and he's like, oh, he's not really a good guy at all. But I think they gave Lotso a much better backstory, a much better motivation for why he's such a bad toy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas I think Prospector Pete was just bitter for not having ever been played with.
Right.
Lotso was actually replaced. So it's much different.
I like that when they get to Molly's house, that those toys were just kind of comic relief.
Yeah. They
They're
didn't
just
play a
like
big
small.
role.
They didn't play a big role. They're nice. There still seems to be a difference to all of them. They all have their own characters, their own little. They have the British thespian there. The
My Neighbor
dinosaur.
Totoro.
Yeah. It's good. They have a heart to them, but they didn't spend too much time on it.
They didn't
feel
overwhelm the movie with characters.
with characters. Yeah,
Not
they could
that
have.
intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there was less focus on other characters than there was in Toy Story 2. Because, the focus of this movie was squarely on Woody.
That's true.
Almost
Yeah.
entirely throughout. And,
It follows him to Molly's house.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very, except for, short sequences where they're in the terrifying children's playroom. It's almost always on Woody.
And I don't think that diminished Buzz Lightyear or Jessica Chastain.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's true. Like in the second movie, it was a lot about Jessica Chastain. She even got that flashback sequence that pushed me to tears. Also, where she gets left behind. But to your point, Buzz Lightyear's almost like a supporting character. But
Yeah.
he still carries that.
Still carries that cool Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
There's a cool scene where they're trying to break out of the kid's room, and he does all the flips and stuff. And I feel like I still.
They hit all the classic beats.
Yeah.
What about, one thing I read is that they had to completely redesign all the characters because the software...
You read they did that? I didn't know they had to, but...
Yeah, they had to. The software that they designed it originally isn't compatible with computers anymore. So they had to build all the characters from the ground up, rebuild them. And honestly, I couldn't tell any difference at all.
Well, they still have the same design, so...
Yeah. Yeah.
When I read that, what I saw was just that they had to rebuild the framers. They couldn't just pull them out of a file.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think this movie did a better job than most movies where they have a lot of characters that they have to spend time on. Or you were talking about the characters in the little girl's house.
Yeah.
And how they had small roles, they didn't have a lot of backstory, but they still felt like they were individual personalities. And I think this movie did that really well. And I was thinking about Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo has a huge cast
Oh,
of
yeah.
supporting characters. And I was thinking about, I think Pixar follows the philosophy of, like in a live-action movie, how even the smallest role has to be cast with the right actor. And I think Pixar does a good job of doing that. Like, even if a character is only on screen for a few seconds, it's like a memorable character with a personality.
Like the crabs.
Yeah, in Finding Nemo, they did this so well. The crabs and the seagulls and
Even there, the villain was a little girl.
right, and the school of fish that acted as one entity, and
The sharks.
the sharks.
Turtles, all the people in the little tank.
That's the movie I was thinking about, like in terms of Pixar, because that movie seemed to have the biggest cast of
Yeah.
supporting characters.
And you literally will only see some of them for like a scene. And then move on to another part of the ocean.
I love that one movie poster from Finding Nemo where there's nothing but they just paint every character they can possibly fit into that.
I haven't seen that.
I think it's because they put them in there and they just let them. Sometimes a big problem with ensemble films is they feel the need to tell each little character's entire backstory and almost make them, I don't want to say more important than they are, but it just becomes like, you become inundated with information. You know, instead of just understanding the idiosyncrasies of these people, and someone can be a character without a backstory. You know, Lotso obviously needed a backstory.
Yeah.
You know, other people don't. In something like this, right?
But I think another thing that they do very well is giving you that backstory sort of slyly on the side without really. I mean, even Big Baby and Mount Big have a backstory, but they never really. It's never explicit. It's just sort of, you know, it just happens alongside Lotso, and you have it. Even the telephone character, you kind of have an idea of what his backstory
That
is.
scene was amazing.
Yeah,
A little film noir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. Where he just like throws the phone. He's like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to go on in that phone.
I didn't either.
What I thought first was that somebody else was going to be talking to that phone.
So did
And
I.
I was
Yeah.
like, if that happens, that's going to be stupid.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was phone talking
Yeah.
through the phone. So it was
Because that's how it
great.
talks.
You see his eyes moving, but there's no mouth. You just see eyes moving. And it was great.
That was really good. Well, how did you guys feel? We'll get to Ken later, but because he is important to talk about him. But how did you guys feel about the fact you just got the film noir? About the fact this was also kind of a prison escape movie.
Yeah.
How do you think
There
they
was-
accomplished that?
There was a point in the movie where it turned.
Yeah.
And I think it might even have been that telephone scene where I suddenly realized I was watching a prison escape movie, and I was like, this, not only is this like a good spoof of a prison escape movie, but this is a really cool prison escape
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And I love how they're showing all the little pieces of the plan, and you don't know what's going on. Like, you're seeing the pieces of the plan as they're doing it, but they're also explaining it at the same time. It's like that scene in Mission Impossible where they're breaking into the CIA headquarters at Langley,
Yeah.
and like
They explain
as they're
each
explaining it,
thing.
you see what's happening.
You see
I
what
love that
happens.
scene in Mission Impossible. I don't know if that was the first movie to do it, but that's the one that I remember that sort of used that structure. And I really liked the way they did that. And it made me think of, like, you know, The Great Escape and The Dirty Dozen and, you know, all those great movies.
But it's so fascinating to juxtapose like a prison escape with a daycare,
Preschool.
a children's
preschool.
daycare. You know, and they do that so well with the Toy Story movies. Of something that we realize is somewhat innocent, and they take it and say, "No, this
Well,
is devilish.
you
We're
know
gonna
how-
go to the box, and it's just a sandbox."
Box,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, even how the the daycare starts out, how quickly it flips to this like terrifying place.
Yeah.
This literally like one of a prison in South America or something. This place where like.
And the thing that I thought was so interesting about that scene where the toddlers come rushing in is the moment that Buzz Lightyear has this realization that it's a nightmare. He's not in his alive state. He's in his inanimate toy state, but all you see is the helmet flips down. Last second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's all that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like he's got this blank face, but just the.
Then he feels the need to be protective all of a sudden. Yeah. Well, then that's kind of scary. I mean, the stuff that they do to those toys and, you know, dipping them in pain, ripping Rex's tail off. I was kind of like,
yeah, right?
I was like, oh no. I was like, wait, will he get it back? I was concerned when it fell off. I was glad that he got it back.
It really captured how terrifying toddlers can be.
Yeah. And the switch between that age and the next age up is like, where they actually take care of their toys and. You know, it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I was actually wondering, because you're a parent, and I was wondering how you were viewing the film, like, in a way that I wasn't. You know what I mean?
I think one of the problems I had with Up was that the very dark, heavy themes were right there. And I was nervous watching it with the kids. Now, they dealt with it fine, and, you know, Bella, my youngest, anything to do with death, she loves. So, she was great with that.
Well, that one got the PG rating, too.
Yeah. But I mean, I was still nervous about it. With this one, I thought it was balanced enough to where the heavier, darker stuff could easily just go right over the heads of kids that can't handle it. But it was, and the other thing that I was a little nervous about was because it didn't rely so much on humor, it wouldn't appeal to the kids as much, but it still did, and they still seem to love it. Of course, they love pretty much anything that's animated. They love Planet 51. So, there's a reason you don't remember it.
Oh, that was the one where the human was the alien?
Yeah.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah. So I thought, I mean, it played very well for them. And for even for them, the way they talked about it seemed like they got that it was a farewell to these characters. They understood that.
That's interesting.
They understood that it was the end to a complete story. So, and it just blows me away how Pixar is able to do that. I don't know.
It's almost like they bring kids up.
Yeah.
To a more sophisticated level, and they bring adults down to a more childlike level.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's something that. I mean, I was going to say earlier that one of the reasons I think Toy Story is become such an important part of American culture is because the idea of toys coming to life reminds you what it's like to be. I mean, it's hard now to imagine like playing with toys in the way you did when you were a kid. Well, Nate does, but other than that, you know, normal adults. It's hard to imagine. I mean, when you were a kid, you played with them. They seemed alive. Right. You didn't see yourself moving them; they moved. But it's hard to imagine that now, and that's something that this series has been able to remind me what that was like. And
well, I still have a hard time getting rid of an old toy.
Well, I have a hard time getting rid of old. I still
look at this thing like,
I have them. I don't play with them.
I don't like sit on the couch and pretend they're fighting.
No, but I'll look at this toy and I'll be like, I have a history with this toy. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to get rid of them. Yeah. But there are some I remember I've gotten rid of, I've lost. I remember Toy Story 2 hit me hard with yard sales.
Yeah.
and losing toys through yard sales. And I remember, this one hit me hard when I had to go. I remember going away to college, or even going to high school, and like packing up my toys. When my toys started becoming the computer and video games versus the action figures, and trying to hold on to them. I remember I had like a drawer underneath my bed where I would keep all my old action figures and all my toys and my cars that I would play with. And I held on to them for a long time until my parents finally made me pack them up. Not so much because I was playing with them, but I just held on to them. Like Andy had that chest. He didn't play with them. But I thought that was really... It was interesting at the beginning. They had like that Operation Get Played With or whatever, where they tried to get out of the chest, stole the cell phone, and tried to make Andy come in and play with them. And I thought that was... And then that reminds you from the beginning, they're tugging at your heartstrings, what the story is. Because Andy doesn't play with them.
Yeah, Rex
gets
excited that he touched him.
Yeah.
He touched me, even though it was just like to throw him back in.
Throw him back in, yeah.
And I like how they addressed why there were so few of them left.
Yeah,
Also,
that was
the
nice.
part where they talked about Bo Peep, and I don't know if it's just because Annie Potts didn't want to come back for the third movie, The Voice, but what's that?
Nothing.
But that made me really sad.
Yeah. Especially since her and Woody kind of had a thing.
Yeah.
That was...
They lost Bo Peep.
Right. I just wonder
Our mascot.
The as yet untitled
movie mascot.
Did they mention how they lost Bo Peep? They just kind of say Bo Peep was...
No,
they
just
did.
Did they?
Was it yard sale?
Was it a yard sale?
Or
Or?
was it outside?
I thought it was a yard sale. I thought he did say we lost a lot of friends in the yard sale
Yeah.
or something like that.
I don't know if they directly
Maybe.
said it, but maybe it was more.
But we'll have to watch it again.
Yeah.
It's their choice.
Wow.
Gosh.
I was almost afraid that like she broke or something because
Yeah.
was she a ceramic piece?
Yeah, she was something.
She was a ceramic lamp, wasn't she?
I'll have to go back and watch it.
Pretty sure
If
she
we
was
ever put this on the internet, someone will blog. Like, she was ceramic, you bunch of idiots. But, I think we should talk about, there's two definite things. I want to talk about the end scene, the landfill. And then the other thing I want to talk about is Ken.
Right.
Because Ken plays a big and important role, actually.
Yeah.
And I think besides Lotso, he's the second big supporting character that they introduce. He plays an important role. And a very, you were talking about a lack of comedy. He plays a very comedic role.
They started out as like a
Yeah.
one-note comic relief.
I love the joke when he like yells like, "I am not a girl's toy!" And you can see the anger in his face. Why do you guys say that about me?
I think they were definitely pushing the limits in this movie in terms of giving toys a sexual identity almost, you know what I mean?
Well, with Ken and Barbie, they really kind of they touch on the fact that the Barbie toys do have. There's gender issues with the Barbie toys.
Yeah.
And that's technically what they're used for a lot in our society. You give them to little girls.
But I
I was never allowed to play with Barbies. It still pisses me off.
I love that whole they were made for each other scene though. Like, it's such a cliche, but in that instance, it takes on a different meaning because this is Ken and Barbie. They were
They
literally
literally
made for
were
each
made
other.
for each other. Yeah.
But it's almost like neither one of them ever knew until this point. The other one was there.
Yeah.
I thought there was a Ken in the first.
Well, the Barbie doll herself wasn't in the second movie. There was a bunch of Barbie dolls, but that particular Barbie was not in the second movie.
Okay.
There was a separate Barbie at the end of Toy Story 2 when Prospector Pete is being taken over by the little girl.
Yeah, and she turns and she has all the marks on her face, yeah.
She's an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Barbie herself is actually a character.
Barbie herself is a new character, yeah.
Huh.
But I thought that those two characters were... I really like that Barbie doesn't stay with Ken. that she
I
decides
also
to
like
go back with her toys.
how developed they made Barbie.
Mhm.
That really surprised me because it's a Barbie doll.
Yeah. And you expect
Yeah,
her to
she has-
It's just going to be a bunch of blonde jokes or whatever. And
Yeah.
not that she's like this great intelligent mastermind, but she has intelligence about her.
Yeah, they didn't just flip. Well, this is the obvious. We'll just go the other extreme. She actually had like depth as a character, and
Yeah. And she still falls.
She was still
for Ken.
obviously a Barbie,
yeah.
Yeah.
but had her own personality.
Yeah. And
I
I
don't
mean,
know how they do it.
I love the scene where Ken takes her to his secret room where he tries on all the clothes.
This is where the magic happens.
This is where the magic
He's
happens.
in a closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually
Which is actually
nervous.
an interesting metaphor.
Yeah.
I was really nervous when he's like, let me take you somewhere. This is where the magic happens. I was like, what? Where's this going?
Yeah, I mean,
And then it's a closet. I was like,
full of clothes.
oh.
Those are your little kids think that they don't understand.
That's what I'm saying.
About
They're,
putting
they're,
on
they're
clothes.
pushing the envelope a little bit,
Yeah.
but they never really went into like offensive
Yeah.
Yeah.
territory. I was laughing a little uncomfortably at some points, but I don't think that's such a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was there. It never got to a point where I was like, maybe I'm gonna have to explain some things later.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, I think that's the difference between this and kind of Shrek. Shrek took glee in pushing that envelope and jumping over it, which I enjoy, but it definitely makes it for, you know, like you said, you take your kids to go see Shrek, and there might be stuff you have to explain
Yeah.
afterwards. You
Oh,
take
there's
your
a
kids-
scene or two in Shrek that
Yeah,
I wouldn't want I would have a hard time watching with my kids or my parents.
yeah.
Um,
But this, you know, it pushes just right up to the envelope and makes enough of an inference that only adults will catch it.
Yeah.
And even if the kids ask about it, they just kind of laugh and giggle, and they, you know, the scene where I thought it was hilarious when she was like tearing his clothes.
yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. Or like the little, you know, the pun that she makes. I really like your ass, Scott. You know, is nice enough that even little kids could get that, because some little kids will understand. Like Emma kind of giggled. You know,
Yeah.
she understands that ass is a bad word. She's like, but
Is it?
yeah.
Well, you can say it on the radio.
Right. But to her, it's a bad word. To a young child, ass is still considered a bad word. You know, so ass Scott's kind of fun.
I guess I just don't see the difference between saying ass or saying butt. Just
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good. But I mean, they also make that same joke at
I
Shrek.
would say ass for my parents. But
Yeah. See? Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is a difference. I don't say ass around my parents. Yeah.
It's just another word for the same thing.
Right.
But still makes me giggle.
Speaking of dirtier, the landfill scene,
Okay.
which I was
Nice
not.
segue.
I
Very
was
nice
not
segue.
really. I was not.
He's been saving that for years.
The entire time they had hinted at this landfill, and don't get me wrong, but I feel like they hint at the landfill or like getting thrown out the trash from Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2. That's always a big fear of these toys, getting thrown out, getting put in the trash. And so now they finally bring up this idea of going to the landfill and to actually escape the daycare. They go through the trash chute, which is cool.
That's actually. Now that I'm thinking more about your notion of a trilogy as something that's connected, because that is something that actually builds through all three
Yeah.
movies. And in this final chapter, we actually get to that.
They actually get thrown out.
Yeah,
It's
they
actually
actually
interesting.
get there.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you go back and watch Toy Story, you're going to see foreshadowing for Toy Story
Yeah.
3.
Mhm.
Which I doubt that when they were making Toy Story, they planned that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
they have such a way of...
They kept the themes there. They built the themes into 2, and so the themes would become complete in 3. It's not that they planned it 1 through 3, but if you continuously keep it, it's going to work that way. But and I thought that the landfill scene, I wasn't expecting them to go. I kind of was
Yeah.
like, I was hoping they would just get out, maybe just go home somehow. But as that pulled me in so much because I really felt like, how in the world are they going to get out of this?
That
This is
scene where they all
crazy.
hold hands,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is how they're going to end it.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid they were going to actually
How-
kill the characters off.
Yeah.
And that
I
was going to
too.
be the
I was
end of the
scared out of
story.
my mind.
And there'd be this like sad scene with Andy finding a burnt and charred Woody. And yeah, I was actually afraid it was going to end that way.
I was feeling a little apprehensive.
Mhm.
About it, you know?
When they fall into like the Crusher and things like that, and when Lotso climbs up that Lotso climbs up that ladder
Oh
and
my God.
he can push the button to save them, and he chooses not to. That makes him like just so
Prospector
evil,
Pete
so
was
villainous.
a malicious character in Toy
He
Story
would not
2,
have done that. No.
but
Yeah.
he never
He never wanted to actually like kill or harm. He just.
He wanted to
harmed.
harm them.
But for
But he never went to the point of, okay, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
let you die now because
Yeah.
I don't like you. It's
yeah, Lotso was
I was
willing
really
to
surprised that they
kill those characters. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is the part where the bad toy has a change of heart, comes back, and he sees
Mm-hmm.
Day, and suddenly it's like, you know, have fun with Andy or whatever he said, and he walks off.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, at that moment I was like, holy crap. And then they get saved by the three
The single
aliens.
greatest Deus Ex Machina in
Yeah.
movie history.
That's another thing that seemed like it was planned from the very
Right.
beginning.
Yeah.
You know.
The claw.
The claw.
Yeah. Well, and they kind of disappeared.
I had
in
forgotten
the
about
landfill.
that.
I
yeah.
had not. I had
That
not.
they had
forgotten
run
about
away. And there was a part of me that was like, oh no, don't let them die. Yeah.
I was afraid because they were the first ones to get when the machine comes through and they all get the bulldozer. They're the first ones to get bulldozed, and they're out of the picture. And I'm like, they're not just treating these like disposable characters all of a sudden. Like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna bother me.
Mhm.
And it's like, you know, especially
Potato
Mrs.
children.
Potato Head is so attached to them, and it's
Yeah.
like they're her children. But I thought, oh, it's so great the way they came back.
Mhm.
It might not make total sense, but just in the frame of the movie, I think it was so awesome.
It works within the logic of the movie.
Well,
It's flawless.
that's like the only way they could get out, and you're so happy
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you see that claw come down, and you realize who it is that has the
Yeah,
claw.
As soon as it
moment.
happens, you know it's
Yeah, and you're like, yes, you're so, because there's that huge just
the one
flame.
with aliens. Is,
Yeah,
you know,
and you're like, yeah.
and then they have that little beat after it was like, you saved our lives and we're eternally grateful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, how do you take one of the best jokes from the first movie, and in the end of the third movie, you make that emotionally resonant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Pixar does that. Pixar does that. It's the Pixar. It's amazing. It's just downright amazing. The other thing that really, that I thought was really great was in the prison escape, having Mr. Potato Head take all his pieces.
Oh,
I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, and
putting him onto
the
like
tortilla.
the tortilla. He puts
like,
himself
as long
into
as the
the.
pieces are on something, he can be animated.
He can be
Yeah.
animated and he can walk around. I thought that was interesting.
That was a great.
And when he gets onto the zucchini,
It's
you're taller and thinner.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. Not believe the day I had.
I feel so healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about? Do you see? Are there any flaws? Is there anything that didn't work for you?
I think there were a couple of jokes. There were a couple of moments where they went for the easy joke that I felt kind of wasn't really incongruent with the movie.
For example,
And I can't take credit for picking this out.
I just feel like we're just gushing over
I know.
this.
Let's gosh.
I already said that I had a slight problem in the beginning because, well, let me say this: in Toy Story 2, it was so chock full of awesome little references to sci-fi movies.
The humor in Toy Story 2 is amazing.
Like I could just sit there and I was like, and like I could watch it a few times, and each time I'm picking up something that. Toy Story 3, I was watching and it was like, I was like, where are the gags? Like, where are the references to? And I think by the end it wasn't such a big deal because, like you said, it had a slightly different feel to it. It wasn't as relying on gags. So that by the end of the movie, it had built such an emotional arc. I feel like if I go back and watch it again, it won't bother me as much. But the little gags like where Potato Head comes back from the sandbox and there's like something about Lincoln Logs
Oh.
and makes
Yeah.
I don't think those are Lincoln Logs. It's like, well, you know,
They might be odds.
was this kind of funny? But
Yeah, it was kind of funny, but it wasn't
like
to
he
the
wasn't
level
there,
of-
so the joke, it was just one of those, I don't know, it was a disposable joke.
Yeah.
It was almost like Ronan-inducing one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kids liked it though. Kids like poop jokes.
Yeah, kids do like
love
poop jokes.
When
Poop
you
jokes,
say
fart
poop, and they
jokes.
just laugh. They love it.
90% scatological humor is not worth it.
I think you just call it poop jokes.
Yeah,
Calling it
poop jokes.
scatological
Yeah.
humor.
I sound more intelligent when I say scatological.
You do sound more intelligent, but in the end, you're talking about a poop joke.
And I make you sound less intelligent.
You're
so that's
intelligently
impossible.
talking about a poop joke. Like, that's what you're doing.
I went to college.
Yeah. Like what we did. Something that I didn't exactly like.
I've been racking my brain about something that. I mean, I agree that there were jokes that
Yeah.
weren't quite to the level as the rest of the movie, but they were still
And that could be for
they
me.
weren't flat.
Yeah.
Nothing felt flat.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to admit that a movie is perfect.
Yeah,
And
perhaps we just don't want to.
and I don't
Perfect.
want it to, so I've been racking my brain. What about this movie didn't work for me? And
Well, I can
sorry,
still.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Because I was
You
pretty much
still
going to
can.
say that. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I'm trying to think of. There's a part of me that wants to find flaws with some of the Buzz Lightyear stuff,
Yeah.
with some of his.
The flamenco mode.
Yeah, with the Spanish mode, but even that was funny, and they kept it. They actually kept it with his character. They added it. He didn't suddenly become evil. He kind of worked with the team. He helped them out. I loved how he was trying to impress Jesse.
I like how Jesse kind of did it.
Jesse
Yeah.
kind of liked the fact that he was.
She didn't know what to do with it at first. She was like, what's going on?
Yeah, but then she likes it, and
By the way, no,
Yeah.
it's okay. No, it's a Spanish one.
yeah. I guess the main, and this is probably because we just have to find something to pick at it. I guess would be that whatever it is falls on Buzz Lightyear, right? I can't remember. Is that in
Oh, the TV?
The TV falls on Buzz Lightyear, and somehow that resets him. That I didn't get. I didn't understand. I mean, sure, he has to get reset somehow, and I'll buy it. But
I think, yeah, I felt kind of the same way when it happened.
right,
I think it's not such a big deal to me because it happened in a moment of total self-sacrificial
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear. It was totally in character for Buzz Lightyear, even though he wasn't in character as Buzz Lightyear.
yeah,
I mean, he's knowing he's probably going to die, he throws Jesse out of the way.
right,
And when it's coming down, you can see the screen's already broken. So it was like I was okay that he wasn't
Yeah.
dead.
crushed by it.
Yeah,
He's a really well-made toy.
he is really.
I wish I had an action figure that was that well-made.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because his wings still pop out after whatever it is, 15 years.
yeah.
I wish I had an action figure that wings still popped out after 15 years of playing with it.
Well, Andy
You know,
took good care of him. Yeah,
spilling soda on it and getting all gummy.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I can forgive certain things. If a movie's that good, the little things
right.
I can forgive. I
Yeah.
still give it okay, this is as perfect a movie as there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you thought of it? I mean, because even that, I didn't mind it. In the moment, I was like, in another movie, this would have really bugged me if these start to add up. But even then, after I watched it, I was like, oh, stop, Nate. You're just nitpicking. Just enjoy this movie. Don't find something to hate in something that's been so good. That's what I felt like I was doing.
It's also possible if I go back and watch it, I'll pick up other things about it. Because when I go back and watch the other two Toy Stories,
Yeah.
there are little things that there's a suspension of disbelief, but there are just certain things where I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a little bit of physics will be good this morning. But the movies are so good
Yeah.
that I can be forgiven for things like that.
By the way, I was thinking you guys were saying this movie was really dark. The first Toy Story, I think we could possibly argue the second Toy Story has some dark moments, especially with Prospect Peak. hits. Who's that he hits? Does he hit Jesse, or he actually hits one of them?
It's Woody.
Woody, yeah.
He hits Woody with his...
He tears the scene with his
Yeah.
pickaxe.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, I mean, the first one's really dark with Sid,
Yeah.
who actually kills toys, and that's probably the only time that we really see a toy killed.
Well, okay.
He blows up an army man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
They all die. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, in the first one,
And he's
Woody's pretty dark in the first one.
Yeah.
Because he actually... He's so vengeful toward Buzz that... Not that he's trying to murder him, but that scene where he tries to get him stuck down in the...
Yeah.
The 8-ball rolls down and he gets that idea. He tries to get him stuck down in the...
Yeah.
It's almost like a murder scene,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm. He's willing to hurt him.
Yeah.
Willing to have him broken, yeah. The first one has... And I was just thinking about that in my head, how dark the first one actually... The other thing I thought about is... Sid is the only person who they ever reveal to that toys are alive.
Right.
Ever. Through all the movies. The only human. Which I think is interesting. That... And that could have really been... Something that really impresses me is that doesn't kind of become a motif through the movies.
Yeah.
Them revealing to humans that they're alive. You know, because there would be a real fear of mine that they would reveal to humans, and Andy would know their secret, and he would help them
Yeah,
out.
I was afraid that
oh
was
no,
going to happen.
Mom, they're alive. We have to save them. You know.
This was an 80s movie, or even an 90s.
Yeah, but they didn't feel the need to do that. They, and they're in the first one, the reveal to Sid has a purpose to scare the heck out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
This is a side note, but have you ever seen A Christmas Toy? It's a Jim Henson movie. Christmas movie. I think it was a TV kind of movie. It was called A Christmas Toy. And it was the same basic idea where the toys were alive. But in that movie, if a human saw a toy out of place, like that toy would die, essentially. And there's actually a scene in Christmas Story where there's a little clown doll, and he's standing in the doorway when the I don't know if the kid or whoever comes around the corner and sees him, and he just falls over dead.
Huh.
And he's never alive again. It's just an inanimate toy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that's obviously that's not what the case is in Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
They treat it that way.
it makes me think back to that. This is like almost a death sentence.
Yeah.
For someone.
Well, and that's how the toys treat. I mean, there's no situation where they, reveal that except for that one scene.
Although I like that the Buster, the dog.
He sees it, yeah.
Yeah, the dog knows that they're alive. Yeah, it helps him.
How'd you like that reveal?
I thought that was awesome. That was a great
He
kind
was
of
for
moment
Buster
of humor. Yeah, especially at the beginning. Yeah,
This old dog.
kind of waddles in, and then just lays on him.
This dog's like 12 years old now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, at least.
No,
Well, he came around in the second one. The
At
second.
the end of the first one.
the end of the first one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like we have a
And
puppy.
he gets the puppy for Christmas.
Yeah.
At the end of the first movie.
Yeah. So that dog's
It's not.
that's an old dog.
But I love
There's
it.
our flaw. That dog's like 20 years old.
No, my dog was almost 18.
Yeah, that dog's 18.
Hey,
That's
dog was
okay. That's an
Or
old dog.
what's it, boxing, whatever boxing.
Dogs that don't live that long. They have horrible back problems.
But it was a great
Yeah.
reveal where it's
Yeah.
like the dog is aged. He's an old dog now. Which is kind of, it's sad and funny at the same time.
Yeah. That was fun. That was good.
Okay.
Anything else anybody really wants to say?
I like the relationship between Andy and Molly.
Yeah. I think we've already mentioned. I mean, that end scene did. I was crying. I wasn't bawling. I wasn't shaking. But there were tears.
Well, because,
Tears that were
it's
on
like,
my cheeks.
you see the part where they're growing up on the home videos or whatever. And now Andy's 17 now.
17, 18. Yeah.
And
I think they're called 17, right?
And he's like, he's saying, stay out of my room with his little sister. And I'm like, I hope he's not like this jerk toward his little sister now, But it's like this real, honest relationship between the two. Where it's like he wants her out of his room, but he still is protective of her and loves her. You can tell. I liked that they took enough time. They show you just enough where you understand the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a good relationship, but it's still a real sibling relationship.
And even the part where the mom walks into, the mom is on his back about getting his toys together and getting the room packed up. But then when she actually walks in and sees the bare room, she's like, she's speechless. And
she's speechless and she's touched.
It's like these little moments.
Actually, now that I think about it, that when he throws the toys into the bag, and then he drops them, and she picks them up thinking they're trash, I think that sequence was a little convenient. I understand the logic of it, but it still felt a little convenient. I have a hard time thinking that he would put them in if he's going to put them in a attic, he should put them in a box, not a plastic bag.
The box that she had marked
attic. So, yeah, exactly.
But he's a teenager, he's dismissive. My brothers are at that age now, and my parents tell them to do one thing, and even if that thing makes perfect sense, just for the reason of being a teenager, and I would do it too.
I was flawless too.
To rebel in whatever silly way you can, you would just do something different. You just do it your own way. Your parents tell you to bring the dishes down and put them in the left sink. You put them in the right sink. Just because they told you to do it one way.
Yeah. So it might have been a little convenient, but it kind of it still rings true because I found things in the garbage. That my mom was thrown out or things that were just in the wrong bag, got thrown out. So I can almost emotionally connect to that.
Yeah.
Right.
And even the part where he comes back and he's like, Mom, what did you do? And the mom's like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What about the short before the...
Oh yeah, let's talk about the short.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought that I've never seen an animation style like that. I thought that animation style was brilliant. The short, let's do a quick synopsis of the short. Basically, there's these two kind of characters. The short's called Day and Night. One represents Day. He's
hard to explain.
Yeah, he's a silhouette. He's a silhouette, and all around, he's a silhouette in black. So there's a black background, and his character, inside of him, is something happening in the world during the day. And as he moves, it's like the world is swirling inside of him.
But he's like a traditional 2D character.
He's a traditional 2D character.
And the world you see inside him is a CGI, 3D CGI.
Three-dimensional CG, yeah. And he runs into somebody who's night, the same thing's happening, but everything's happening at night. And it was really interesting because that character first shows up, and there's not a laugh for a while. You're just kind of getting the concept of what's going on.
I'm still not sure if I have the concept of what. I understood it kind of, but it's very. It's extremely abstract. The what they were doing.
I kind of dug it though. That it was abstract.
It looked cool. It looked really cool. I was when that guy runs forward and then it's just kind of a field and then a hand glider suddenly appears and he flies with them and everything that was happening inside of them was literally them and it was the world and it was just
I think it was great the way they took you take a cartoon from the 1940s okay and they were using a lot of those sound effects those slapstick a lot of that slapstick cartoon humor but they're interposing it on this 2010 modern animation thing. And so these two characters, start reacting to each other. And everything all of their reactions, like you're saying, the fireworks,
There's the scene where he like makes like the wolf howl when he sees the pretty girl in the bikini.
Right, and it's a wolf at night howling at the moon. And,
Yeah.
And these are all like old traditional, you know,
Tex Avery
cartoon moments. But they're using them to do this new thing.
Yeah. Well, they're watching the two characters, I guess they would be day and night, are watching each other as if each other are movie screens, but they're
Right.
literally watching each other's bodies, which was kind of bizarre and strange at the same time.
Yeah, it did. It felt a little weird at moments.
It did feel, especially with the girl in the bikini when they was kind of like staring. And the other guy's like, "Yes, look at me," but her in me, and you're like. Although that was funny when he then steps there and it's just like beach, and he's like, "Oh." Yeah.
Coke.
The little Coke.
Cup.
Yeah. And they do all kinds of little things where they go to Vegas, and his Vegas is kind of cool. The Knight's Vegas is much cooler. They see there's two things really good. The thing that I found was interesting, and I'm not sure if I like it or not, was the radio broadcast moment. Where the radio broadcast is sitting there and saying the things that are unexplainable are sometimes best left unexplained and most important. And I was,
So like, let's explain what we were trying to do with this moment. Yeah, and
But-
that moment, I was a little. I could have done without that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that just kind of tells you that this is hard to understand. But I can see that it's hard to understand. I'm having a hard time understanding what's going on. Do you really need to reiterate? I mean, maybe they need to acknowledge that they understand that this is kind of difficult. But, I don't know. I just, yeah.
They could have just left it as it was instead of saying, "This is the moral of our story." You know.
Yeah.
A little too on the nose.
Yeah, a little too on the nose. I asked the kids about it afterwards, and they completely forgot. Like, it didn't stick with them at all. So I think it was a little over the head of younger children. Whereas that's the first one of their shorts that's like that. Most of the other ones are perfect little, funny little pieces that, are something you'd see in a Saturday morning cartoon or something like
It's
that.
more of a gag within a
Yeah.
message.
Whereas this was definitely a different level of
I mean, like,
concept.
how did they feel about the ones in, like, Up and Wall-E? Because Wall-E has the classic, really like Bugs Bunny kind of.
Was that Presto with the...
Presto.
That was amazing.
That one's hilarious. And that one, I remember people really... I was laughing my head off during that one.
That's
And
a
then-
good back.
Yeah. And then the, Up has the cloudy one, which is really sweet. With the storks and the cloud that makes little sharks and baby alligators and things. So, do you feel like your kids liked those better? They
Yeah,
remember
oh
those
definitely.
after?
They talked about those afterwards.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I was like, "What did you think?" And they both just kind of, "What did
Yeah.
not remember?" They
Yeah.
literally did not remember it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and it's just sort of a
That'd be much more of a generation.
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it was brilliant, like animation style-wise
Yeah.
and everything like that.
Do you think
But-
they actually use traditional, like cell-drawn animation for that? Or do you think they did 2D on a computer? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did the cell drawn.
For at least the characters.
Yeah,
The inside obviously had to be.
and then just,
Right.
but like that basically was a layer over
Right.
the 3D animation behind it, just
I'd be
because.
curious to find out for sure how they do that.
Yeah, making that would be really interesting.
Because that would be a first for Pixar, kind of, wouldn't it? Doing traditional,
Yeah, they've always
Cell
done.
animation.
They've always done.
unless they have Disney helping out or something like that.
That is true. I mean,
I'm
and
sure they
they
can
are
handle
under
the
Disney
cell
now.
drawn technology.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
do they
If
have people on the
you're, if you're
staff
all
that can actually
computer
sit there and
animators,
draw
yeah,
cell
maybe not.
Well, they must do like storyboards and things like that ahead of time, and character sketches, and
Yeah.
Okay.
you know.
Alright,
So I
I
mean,
can buy that.
I
can
I'm
buy
sure they can.
All right.
Either way, it would be something new
Yeah,
for them.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So where do we think, something that I'd be interested in, where do we think this sits in the Pixar canon? Not the short film, but Toy Story 3. Where does it sit with Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Up?
This is the 11th
It's the 11th, yeah.
feature film.
Where does this sit?
For me, I'd say it's tied with WALL-E as for number one. Definitely. I'm not sure. It'll be a while before I decide whether it's better or worse.
See,
But it's definitely up there. I mean, I've never had a cartoon affect me like this emotionally, which says a lot about the depth of the characters in the story.
yeah, and how much of a little girl you are, but...
Yeah, well, yeah. You're the one that actually cried. I'm just going to point that out.
You wanted to cry.
Right.
It's a tough. I guess it depends on what criteria I'm looking at, because Toy Story is the ultimate classic Pixar movie.
That's
So even though, I mean, The Incredibles was my absolute favorite
I do love it.
Pixar movie. I have a hard time finding anything wrong with that movie. And then WALL-E came out, and WALL-E did something that, to me, WALL-E was so transcendent of the medium, because I felt like WALL-E took all of cinema history and like mashed it together into this just beautiful, one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the silent films, classic comedies, sci-fi,
Musicals.
musicals, romance,
Yeah. Action.
yeah, all these disparate genre elements coming together to make this amazing movie. So WALL-E, I guess I'd say WALL-E is my favorite Pixar movie,
Yeah.
and probably still is, just because of how, you know, like I just said, but Toy Story 3 I think is definitely up there.
It's really hard for me because WALL-E would probably be that's always my gut decision. Is what's the best Pixar movie, and I always think WALL-E because WALL-E holds a really special place in my heart. And I don't want to repeat because the way that you summed it up was just perfect. But that, and I don't know, I just got really attached to that WALL-E character. Just love that little guy.
For me,
But, yeah.
WALL-E has a. I agree that it's a great movie, but there's a huge flaw in it that bugs me, and that's the live action.
Live action, but
And it irritates the hell out of me when I watch it. And if it wasn't, like, the rest of the movie is so transcendent that I can sort of get past it. But it does, that sort of keeps that movie from being perfect.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I guess it does take me out of the movie a little bit. I think on the second viewing I was more okay with it.
Yeah.
On the first movie, it was a little jarring. The first viewing, it was a little jarring. Second time, because I knew it was there. I guess I was like, well, it's not awful.
Well, I mean, and I think about this, we were having a hard time finding flaws with Toy Story 3. With WALL-E, that is something that people frequently can point to and say, look, there's live action. Why? That's something you can easily debate. Toy Story 3, it's hard to find something, but I don't know. Initially, I would say if I'm looking at this if I look at all three, Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 3, now, and kind of combine them as one movie as we do with, like, Lord of the Rings, the accomplishment of making a trilogy so, not just one movie so near perfect, but a trilogy that just fits and flows together so just amazing.
It wasn't
amazing.
originally intended to.
Yeah, like that. That is just mind-boggling. How in the world they did that, and I mean this is Pixar, so like the top of Pixar is just could go on debating this forever. Because Up has some amazing. I love The Incredibles. Ratatouille gets overshadowed because it came out, right before WALL-E. But Ratatouille is a really good movie. It's really, really. Finding Nemo has been forgotten because of all the amazing stuff that comes after it. The Finding Nemo's. I mean, we talked about it a little bit today. The Finding Nemo's awesome. Monsters Inc. I think gets forgotten all the time. I love Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Creativity
has
in there.
one of my all-time favorite, just last shot scene. It's the simple shot of coming out of the closet and seeing the little
Yeah. Yeah. It's just brilliant.
I think the problem is we're talking about 11. I think all 11 movies are great movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them have weaknesses. Cars is a little slow. I have a harder time getting to the characters, I think. Cars. The great thing about Cars is that it's about a race car and it's the slowest Pixar movie. I think Ratatouille has certain weaknesses. I think Monsters Inc. has certain weaknesses. I think The Bugs Life has certain weaknesses. But every single one of these movies has such a well-developed universe and such well-developed characters that it's difficult because you're trying to rank 11 movies where like the 11th movie in that ranking is still a really good movie.
Yeah, still better than most animated films.
Better than most
Better than most films.
films.
Most
Period.
films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cars touched me in
That last scene.
the whole thing about people driving by and not realizing what they're missing. These little towns, the interstate system. I mean, the interstate system has its merits, but so many little towns just dried up and blew away in the wind, and all these people's livelihoods were destroyed. And you're doing this with animated cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that theme has been attempted before with live action so often.
Yeah.
The idea of the ghost town disappearing. That's not an unheard of theme. Especially something like that. That's a very much... Heck, that's a big theme with westerns. The railroad coming through, destroying. The town that it goes to gets up big. The town that doesn't go to dies. But you're right. Cars can pull you in. And I don't know how Pixar has a handle on just human emotion for our generation like no other production company around.
I don't know. I guess I put Toy Story 3 in the upper half. Probably, if I really ranked them all. Because, like I said, Monsters Inc., Bugs Life, Cars, Ratatouille would be the lower half, even though I still think those movies.
Yeah.
I think Toy Story 3 is such an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I watched Toy Story and Toy Story 2 back to back. I started in the theater.
Right.
Toy Story 2 has a more developed story, I think, than the first Toy Story is. Even though the first Toy Story has a good story. There's just something about Toy Story 2 that feels a little bit more fleshed out. But it's hard to say it's a better movie because the first Toy Story is such a towering achievement in cinema.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to, I mean how you're...
I think another reason I would put Toy Story 3 so high is because I think it accomplishes for animated movies what the first Toy Story did. In that an animated film doesn't have to run on its gags. I haven't seen an animated film do that. Not one like this that's marketed as a kids movie. And,
Right. There are serious animated. I was thinking, especially a lot of Japanese animation.
Yeah.
Things like this.
Yeah, this kind of Disney-esque animated film. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon kind of did that in that they got away from the sort of pop reference gags, which was brilliant. But this just took it way beyond that.
Yeah.
Saying, these movies don't have to be about gags at all.
Right.
It
works in certain movies like Shrek.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but
And we're
we
bashing
haven't seen
Shrek,
anything.
but I love Shrek. I love Shrek.
Well,
So
the first one.
The first one. And the second one. I like the second one. The second one's great. The second one has some hilarious moments. The second one is awesome. It really develops character as well. But the third one has put a stain on that franchise.
The fourth one kind of did too.
But I read a criticism of Toy Story 3 actually.
What's that?
it didn't push the boundaries of animation itself the way other Pixar movies have. And I haven't really thought about it enough to determine for myself whether I think that's true. I think it pushed the boundaries of the way you can tell a story with animation. Pushing the boundaries with animation itself is hard to say.
I think animation at this point has gotten so refined that unless it's something you know a lot about, how it's done, you probably can't tell.
Well, the thing is, the previous 4 or so Pixar movies, I can look at those movies and say, wow, they really pushed the envelope of animation. I'm having a hard time thinking of something specific about Toy Story 3 where it pushes the envelope of animation itself. I don't think that's necessarily a detriment, though.
No.
Yeah.
Because the story is so good that it doesn't need to have
Right.
an animation gimmick. Or it doesn't really...
You don't need to be constantly changing how we do animation.
Yeah, why does... You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
You're telling a good story with good characters, with amazing animation.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't happen organically with the story,
Yeah.
then you're just doing it for... I mean,
Right.
like with
Then it's just
Up,
flashy.
the lighting from the balloons and everything was amazing, but that was organically
Right.
There
part
was
of
a
the
reason
story.
for
There's a
that.
reason for it.
Yeah.
In Ratatouille, they played a lot with light and shadow.
Yeah.
And just some of the action sequences, Brad. But that's very Brad Bird, but
Right, The Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
The action.
yeah.
The Incredibles is one of the best action movies, animated or not,
Yeah.
ever made.
He's doing the next Mission Impossible.
Is he really?
Yeah. Brad Bird is taking him from Pixar. He's directing Mission Impossible 4. It'll be really interesting. John Lasseter is directing a live action movie too right now.
Yeah.
That'll be very
So
interesting. Yeah. Because Abrams made Mission Impossible 3, which let's not get into Mission Impossible.
I never
Let's not talk
saw
about
it. So the third one.
Yeah.
I'm maybe too polarized. I'm talking about right now. But yeah, and Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about what Wall-E did with animation.
Right. But just
The sound.
the thing about Finding Nemo that gets lost is the background. The
Oh,
environment.
yeah. The
I mean,
environment.
you're
It's an
you're
ocean.
underwater.
It's
The
literally
water,
an
yeah.
ocean. Yeah.
And they say that water is notoriously hard to get right. And this whole movie is of water.
Yeah.
And it looks so amazing. But you don't think about it because you're focusing on the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch the whole movie and you don't focus on the characters, focus on the background, it's an unbelievable achievement.
Well, we just mentioned a second ago Mission Impossible, which is Tom Cruise's vehicle.
Is he still in it? He's still doing it?
He's still in it, yeah. And you cringe at Tom Cruise. That's okay.
I still like Tom Cruise.
I still like. I think
As an
he's. Yeah, I think he's
Yeah, well,
underrated
yeah.
I
and
enjoy his
unfortunately
movies.
hurt by the stuff that he does in public, and that this makes people not want to. You know, he did a good job in Valkyrie. He did fine.
I really liked Valkyrie.
Yeah,
I thought Valkyrie was
I like Valkyrie despite Tom Cruise.
yeah. Despite Tom Cruise, yeah, it's
I
good.
think you need to do some serious praying to work out this thing with animosity.
When you go back and look at his filmography, it's amazing the movies that he's been in, honestly, and the work that he's done. Some of the stuff, you know. So he's kind of a proud jerk. What actor is?
No, it
he?
has nothing to do with
Yeah.
him personally. I could care less about him
It's
personally.
his mannerisms.
The way, his mannerisms as an actor irritates me.
Yeah.
Not when he's in a genuinely comedic, not sort of an action-y, and there's humor there too. When he's in a genuinely comedic role, like in Tropic Thunder, that was great. I thought it was hilarious.
That movie saved him a little bit
But
in the public eye. Yeah.
when he
I thought
is
that
in a,
character was irritating.
really, I thought
He was irritating.
Well, that was the
what
point.
was funny about it to me. Is that he was irritating. Like in every single one.
The introductory scene I thought was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When they brought him back at the end, I was like, I cannot wait for the scene to be over. And now they're making a movie about it.
They're,
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's fun.
But anyway, anyways, the reason we're talking about Tom Cruise is because we're planning on seeing the next movie, Night and Day. And so it's Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz, Peter Sarsgaard. Sarsgaard, yeah.
He's in it? He's in it.
Yeah.
So three annoying
So
actors.
everyone, so it's just a big bunch of annoying for Steven over here. So we can imagine how he feels about it. It's also directed by James Mangold, who did
Which,
3:10 to Yuma, which I think is just,
One of the best westerns ever made.
it's just
Yeah.
amazing. And he also did Walk the Line. He did a bunch of movies before that, which were kind of,
Girl Interrupted was pretty good.
yeah,
was?
Girl Interrupted with
Girl Interrupted.
I never saw it.
Yeah. So but he's a good director. He seems to really, especially
Yeah.
with action, with 3:10 to Yuma kind of elevated him. In my mind, with what he did with that and showing what he could do with action. This looks like it's going to be very comedic. And some beginning critics are kind of having really polarizing views, so I'm wondering, how do you guys feel about this ahead of time?
Well, I think what interests me more than anything about Mangold as a director is that every movie he does, he's not like in a genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's doing, like you say, he's doing Walk the Line, this like serious biopic about Johnny Cash. Then he's doing a western. Then he's doing like this weird psychological thriller like Identity.
Yeah.
He's doing a time travel comedy like what was that? Kate Leopold,
Kate
Oh,
Leopold.
which I haven't seen, but
But
I've
he
heard
did it.
mixed things about.
It makes no sense that he would randomly do like a romantic time travel comedy, right? And just throw it in there. With Hugh Jackman and Meg Ryan. Yeah.
But I'm actually pretty excited about seeing that. I think it looks like it's going to be a really, really entertaining, funny movie with
Yeah.
good action scenes.
Yeah. This feels like to me like what we have a definition for a summer movie. And this feels like a summer movie to me with some smarter directing, some smarter acting, and
It's not a sequel.
more
It's not a
comedy.
remake.
Yeah, it's original. It's there. I'm excited for it.
I don't know how original it is.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise playing a spy.
Yeah, there's this thought in the back of my head that is really hoping that he's actually insane,
You know?
and that he's just going off on a killing spree. And because I hate spy movies where they're like, you know, he's suddenly snapped, but he's actually not. He's got to defend himself, and then he proves himself right. Because this has been done so many times. So I want to see the spy movie where the spy is actually
I
snapped.
think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Darn it! If that happens, I'm going to hate the movie. No, I might still enjoy it, but that's what I want to see. I
When
want to
I
see that.
heard about the movie,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this could be interesting, but I have my doubts about it. When I saw the trailer, what it looked like to me was like, these are two actors that are just like having a great time.
Yeah.
Like this is just like vintage Tom Cruise, and I enjoy. He can get a little over the top,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think that Tom Cruise mannerisms fit in well with this kind of
They
comedic
do.
character.
Yeah.
And also, Tom Cruise is like, to me, Tom Cruise has become like the live action movie star. Just the way he operates, just the level of stunt work
Yeah.
in his movies. I mean,
That he does.
his
he
movies,
That's
are-
designs.
his movies
Yeah.
of the past decade
Yeah.
have I mean, the pinnacle of stunt work.
Despite Mission Impossible 2's flaws, the stunt work and the action in that movie is mind-boggling. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 3,
Mission
War of the
Impossible
Worlds.
3, Yeah.
We're not talking always great movies, but
War
just
of
like
the Worlds is
mind-boggling.
great. Minority Report.
Minority Report, The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
There's a lot going for this movie, but at the same time, I'm gonna have to sit through 2 hours of actors that. It seems like all the actors they took all the actors in Hollywood that I find annoying and put them into one movie. Like
I don't know. See, I'm looking forward to seeing Cameron Diaz in a fun role again. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like
Mister.
I feel like I haven't really seen Cameron Diaz play into her strengths in a long time. Like I enjoyed her in Charlie's Angels because she was just having such a good time.
yeah,
It's not a good movie. Charlie's Angels, but
it's okay.
I enjoyed it.
I just
Enjoy it.
I think it's really, I don't really like it.
Well, yeah.
It's just a dumb movie. But so that about That about wraps it up.
Yep.
Basically, we love Toy Story 3. It might be perfect. We might not be willing to admit it. We're going to see Night and Day next. And that is it for the As Yet Untitled video podcast.
Movie concepts.
Video.
Movie.
We're talking about movies.
Movie podcast. I guess I lost my job.